Hello and welcome everybody. In this short video we will take a detailed look at the new release date / co-op trailer that just dropped recently. Main topics are the release date of course, new biomes, enemies and bosses shown in the trailer, as well as pricing and additions you can now pre-order and buy. So first things first, release date is set to the 25th of July this year. That is a very pleasant surprise. I was expecting it at least a month later, but it is also a smart decision by Gunfire Games to not interfere with the Starfield release date at the beginning of September. On the one hand, it is the middle of summer and a lot of people are probably spending more time outside and are away. I myself will now cut my vacation short by a week to cover the game. On the other hand, there are no major titles releasing around that time, giving Remnant 2 the spotlight it deserves. You can also get a 3-day early access with one of the available editions, more on that later. I will of course jump in early, so if you want to see things like early game and boss fight guides as well as builds and much more, make sure to keep an eye on this channel. Now let's break down the new stuff shown in the trailer. There's a lot to unpack. My first impressions after watching it was, oh yeah, finally, Matrix, the game. The more futuristic elements had a very strong Matrix vibe. But first we see this fight in an alley with a mounted enemy. That seems to be an elite enemy or even one of the aberrations, the elite on steroids enemies they were talking about in the latest gameplay dev stream. Looks like a really dynamic fight in a tight environment, but it is a biome we have seen before. The first glimpse of the new biome we get here. The color palette, overall and enemy design gives me very strong Matrix vibes. You can briefly see those two somethings in the air. The whole next sequence seems to happen in this biome. We see some sci-fi tunnels with robots and technical equipment, as well as a fight against air and ground robot monsters that look really cool. We then switch to another biome with a pretty disgusting enemy that has the ability to completely swallow you. Yeah, that's a big nope for me. I mean, Australians have huntsman spiders as their home protection pets, so they will probably like this. But I would call for a nuclear strike to extinct that beast immediately. Then we switch back and go full Matrix. I mean, come on, that is so dope. But you can clearly see what inspired them, and that is not a complaint. The next fight seems to be a boss fight. The arena seems to offer limited space with pillars popping up and down from the ground. Very cool mechanic. Next we see a factory, again straight out of the before mentioned movies. I really like this setting as a major shift from all the red and infested woods and caves we have seen before. Then we switch back to one or two other biomes. One very greenish place with another ugly abomination in need for extinction. Moving back to the tech biome, we see one of my favorite parts. A fight on a train-like object that gives me strong Firefly Western sci-fi vibes. Again we can see robots as enemies with various ranged and melee attacks on both sides. We then jump back to the already shown incubator facility, this time with some fighting inside this facility. Next is another boss fight with what looks to be a scrap monster. Although the lighting is now different, it still looks like we are in a more tech or sci-fi biome, maybe even the same as before. We hop right into the next boss fight with a completely different lighting. This time the techie environment looks a lot more slick and clean. Although the monster has some robotic vibes, it also features two disturbingly human looking arms. And yeah, that concludes the new aspects shown in this short trailer. I think it looks fantastic. The bosses, the biomes, I really like the Matrix style sci-fi look and the robotic enemies as a counterweight to the more rotten and organic looking biomes. Also, the train chase like sequence and the pretty diverse boss fights and boss arenas look very promising. Let's take a look how the game is priced and what the different editions offer. The base game comes for $50, which is a fair price in my opinion, especially considering the latest $70 or Euro rip-offs. There's a pre-order bonus that gives you immediate access to the Gunslinger class. I'm not sure how much of a bonus that is. In the latest gameplay live stream, they announced 5 starting archetypes or classes with more unlockable during the game. No specific number on how many just yet. To lock the Gunslinger behind a pre-order bonus seems weird, but maybe it can be unlocked pretty fast in the game anyway. But I feel it wouldn't be necessary to do that. The Deluxe Edition is a strange one. For $10 more, you get 3 armor sets that can also be unlocked during the game and nothing more. In the light of the changes to armor in general, where these function now more like a cosmetic item with some base stats that cannot be improved, I feel that this edition is not worth the extra price. You will not get any set bonuses like in the first game from these armor sets. And lastly, we have the Ultimate Edition for $70, which includes all aforementioned items and in addition some minor crafting items, that is nothing you should be excited about, but also 3 days early access, which is already pretty neat. And on top, access to 3 DLCs, which will all come within 1 year after launch. Now that package is sweet, and I think 20 coins premium for 3 days early access, which you could call artificial time gating of course, and 3 DLCs is a reasonable investment. Sure, we don't know yet how beefy these DLCs will be and how they will be priced, but I would doubt that they are cheaper than $10, more likely priced above that. So base version and Ultimate Edition are a decent and fair offer in my opinion. The Deluxe Edition I think is rather useless and I wouldn't recommend buying that. I hope you enjoyed this detailed breakdown. As mentioned before, this channel will cover all aspects of Remnant 2, so stay tuned. What do you think about the new biomes and pricing? Let me know in the comments. This is all for now about Remnant 2, more to come. Take good care of yourself and enjoy the summer.